you hear that? That was my hip. Oh, is it starting? Every time. You know, I was gonna ask, I was gonna be like, should I like open with a yoga? And then be like, pranks, this is a book vlog. It's not a fake yoga video. Alright, so this week I took a look at the Yogi Code, 7 Universal Laws of Infinite Success by Yogi Cameron. One of the rules that he should have written in was accepting when you goof, like the title of the book, and also to accept distractions, like the sprinklers. So this book was given to me a few years ago, and I tried to read it, but it just wasn't the right time. And truthfully, I don't know if now was the right time either, but it seemed appropriate because today marks 60 days of me doing yoga consecutively. Hashtag thanks Corona. I think that should be a thing. Anyway, so the Yogi Code. This is a book by Yogi Cameron, and a little background on him because it's cool, and also because his story is kind of a big part of the book story in general. So he used to be a supermodel, like living the high life, but he felt like something was missing. And then he met this man while in Paris, and they became really good friends, and then he died. And then he, being Yogi Cameron, decided to learn more about the yogic lifestyle and everything, and went to yoga school and studied in India, and he found all that satisfaction and love and fulfillment and purpose through that he wanted to share it with others and help other people find that too. So he's written a couple of books. He's on social media. I'll of course include those links. But he came out with this book, and in it he says that you'll uncover simple yet powerful daily tools for transforming your life into one of deep joy, boundless energy, and effortless success. So I think that's what's kind of cool about this book is he actually does give you like a 21-day kickstart at the end. And the kind of interesting thing I thought about that was that the 21, well not all, but most of those 21 days of like practices are introduced throughout the book. So you get a little bit of exposure, and then it's like a nice little way to like round it out. So his 7 universal laws. The first one is routine, which he says that you should create a daily routine to enhance your vitality, focus, and power. I think we hear a lot about routines. You hear it with school, especially now, because they're like, COVID throws off your routine, or summer break throws off your routine, and you need to find it so that you like have a sense of success and you're able to sort and organize your life. And I think that's really important. But of course, here with the Yogi Code, it's not just a step-by-step of like, this is how you should go through your day. It's also like, these are things that you should consider to spiritually improve your life. And I think that's really interesting because, I mean, maybe you go to church once a week, maybe you go to temple or whatever you practice, maybe you don't practice at all. Maybe you just say, oh my God, and that's the extent of your spirituality, or maybe you have actual discussions. But I think he has a point that to routinely bring spirituality and awareness and mindfulness into your life is super important. The next law is practice. He says that adopt a daily practice that creates unshakable calm, enhanced clarity, and a solid psychological foundation. I think practice is pretty similar to routine, but it's often kind of confused for the other one. For me, especially with my background in volleyball and my very recent yogi aspiring trend, I guess, that I've been trying to have for the past 60 days with the yogi, not the volleyball. Like, practice is super important. It's what helps you get better. It's that repetition, it's that practice, and I just know that that was kind of like using the word in the definition, but it's just that repetitive nature of doing something that makes you feel better, that's still good for you, so that you improve. And I think it's something that is really hard to do because, I mean, who likes practice? We like to just get in and we like to play. We like to throw ourselves in. But that practice is super important because without it, we're just playing with bad habits and we don't know the better way to do things. Self-study, he says that to learn methods for understanding your true nature, you may infinitely expand your current potential. So what I thought was really interesting was in the book itself, he says that self-study isn't just like self-discovery and figuring out like what you like and what you don't like. It's trying to figure out kind of the deeper things. As some of you may know, I'm also a journalist, and something that was really interesting in one of my pieces I most recently worked on, it had to do with racism and not explicitly racism, but it was kind of like an underlying hidden theme. But we have to think of the root of the problem. And so with self-study, it's not enough to just say, well, I like this, or I'm a dog person, or like I'm a volleyball player, or I'm a bookworm. Like, you have to figure out why. And again, we hear the need for figuring out the why all the time, but it's so easy to skip over the why and just focus on the what. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Intention and purpose, I think those are another two laws that are really similar. To kind of go back to the self-study, Cameron says that our intentions are informed by our nature that we find through our self-study, and then our intentions reflect that. So it's kind of the cyclic cycle. But then there's the purpose, which is like the why again. And it kind of gets into the whole, like, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, or it doesn't matter what you intended, it's more the end result. And so finding our intention is really important, but we can't just rely on intention to get by. He says for intention that it's to unveil and understand your every intention and how to get what you truly want in practical ways. So with that intention, he encourages readers to live with intention, like to say, what do I want to accomplish with this? And that's where I think it's really easy to get confused with purpose. But he says purpose is like the broader thing. Like, your intention in going out and breaking quarantine might be to like have fun, or like to relieve some sense of like being cooped up. I thought there was a bug on me. But like, maybe that's leading to your bigger overall purpose, because maybe by your going out, and probably you're documenting it because you're like, woohoo, I'm out, I don't have to be locked up. You're bringing a little bit of that to people who don't have the same opportunity as you do. Which kind of even gets into his next point about service. And I thought it was a really interesting distinction here, because he said service isn't the same as helping people. The way Cameron describes it, it sounds like for him, if you think about the saying that like you can teach a man to fish, or you can give a man a fish for a day, and like the eat for a day versus a lifetime, if you help someone, you're giving him that fish. But if you serve someone, you're teaching him how to do it himself. And so something that I thought was really interesting with that was how he was talking that it's not, the other kind of difference is like when you help, you kind of like do what you think other people need, but when you serve them, you're giving them what they tell you need, what they tell you they need. That's how that sentence is supposed to work. And then the last law is love, and I talked about love a lot in the last vlog and blog, and you should check those out. And a lot of his theories on love are pretty similar, except he talks more about the divine love, like the finding balance between your male and your female, or rather masculine and feminine energies and stuff, to like find love within yourself so that then you can give it to other people. And he says that we should tap into the power of the universe by unlocking the greatest force of nature, love. And something that was really interesting was he talked about how, so he spends part of his time in India, And in the little town where he lives when he's living in India, there's this temple to a love fertility female goddess. Thought there was another bug. And he talks about how when he was living there during one period, his friend in the area, he actually has the privilege of taking care of the temple and bathing the statue and whatnot. And the friend said that the power of love when he entered in that little room in the temple was just so overwhelming. It literally knocked him off his feet and to the ground. And I think to kind of even get back to Buscaglia, like, we tend to simplify love and we don't think of it at its true potential. But love is so big and so powerful that, like, if we actually embrace it, we can adjust and come to realize our own potential. So that's kind of what the book is about. And what I also thought was really interesting was that as someone who's really only done the asana or the physical part of yoga, Cameron puts forth the notion that, like, yoga is so much more than that. It's the breathing technique, it's the asana, it's the spiritualness, it's the mindfulness, it's all of those things. As for the book itself, I did like it. I still don't know if this was the right time. Oh, there's a hummingbird. I'm like Doug in Up. Bird. I still don't know if this was the right time for me to read it, though, because I feel like I only started to get to the surface level of what Yogi Cameron is saying. And maybe that's okay for now. Maybe I'll come back later and I'll have some more epiphanies on it. But I think it was the right time to start thinking about the yogic path. The only thing that I don't like about the book, and this is just kind of me as a person, as a reader in general, is I don't like when authors sound preachy. I don't think Yogi Cameron sounds overly preachy. It wasn't like Megan Kelly's book. Do not recommend that one. But just because there were times when, like, he was sharing his own anecdotes, and I think it's great for the context of the story, but it was kind of like, okay, well, I can't really empathize with you. I can sympathize with what you're saying, I can objectively understand what you're telling me, but I can't empathize. And so it made it a little bit difficult to just really embrace some of what he was saying, because I think everyone's own lives are so contextual and are so unique that we're all on our yogic path in our own way, and we're embracing it all to our own extents. And so even though I think all of these laws that he puts forth are really valuable, I think that's the way that he communicated aspects of them were just a little bit exclusive, and I wasn't wild about that. But like I said, maybe I'm just not open enough to his true message right now, and maybe I'll be more open to it later. So overall, I do like the book. I think you should read it if you're interested in yoga as a spiritual movement outside of just like the physical practice. And I think it's just kind of a good book also to think more about your inner self and like your alignment with your inner energies. And I think it's like the 21-day not challenge, but like quick start, I think is what he calls it. I think that's a really good practice for embracing that mindfulness and using it. So that's the Yogi Code. Do recommend, but you definitely have to be in the mindset, to accept what he's saying. So I don't have another book. That is because I'm going to take the majority of June off to work on some personal projects. I am working on another book. Also, please cross your fingers for my first book that someone will actually like edit it and like maybe publish it. So putting that out there. You can definitely check up on me on social media. All of them are either at h.elisestewart or on Twitter _ instead of the period. And I'll be writing for my newspaper, and I'll probably write another couple of little like stories or poems or something just to keep y'all in the loop. But you're gonna have to wait until July for my next actual blog and book review. I'm really excited to see you next time though, and thank you again so much for watching and sticking with me thus far. Thanks!